So what is game and what is chivalry? A lot of people, when they hear the term game, they think of Neil Strauss, of the pickup artists, of that whole degenerate club-going subculture. I think you guys know me well enough to understand that that's not what I'm advocating when I say that you should learn game. Quite frankly, I read half of Neil Strauss's book and had to put it down because I found it too damn depressing. If you want a good analysis of the book, I'm going to provide a link down below to The Rawness, excellent site on personality disorders, psychology, and he thinks that, he argues that Strauss is a codependent manifesting false narcissism. As a result, when Strauss and his friends actually meet a truly narcissistic woman, they get into a destructive relationship and wind up suicidal. It's sad. I can't read a book like that. I can't stare at that sort of ugliness long enough to finish the book, I'm afraid. So when I talk about game, I don't mean wearing a pink boa. Certainly a little bit of it. Some of it is pickup lines. It's knowing how to start a conversation with a woman. But it's a very similar skill to being able to start conversations with people in general. There's a huge overlap in the Venn diagrams between game and charisma. They're not exactly the same, but they're very, very similar. So to discuss what game is specifically for men, well, let's look at what girl game is. How does a girl attract a better quality mate? Well, in the case of women, the most obvious one is makeup. Makeup makes her look younger. It accentuates the secondary sex characteristics. Dressing well. Although there is a trend right now for girls to dress incredibly ugly, which is a whole thing unto itself. Generally speaking, a woman that dresses better will find the better quality mates. And the last thing a woman can do, particularly if she is looking for a dad, not a cad, is provide some feminine, motherly traits. Offer to cook for your boyfriend. Make sure that he has food. Bring him food. He will pick you. He will pick the girl that brings him food over the slightly hotter girl that complains about the restaurants that he takes her to. So any of you ladies looking for a husband, that's what you do. Bring him food, do his laundry, be sweet and loving, not bitchy, and he will choose you over the slut. Anyway. What it boils down to is us men, we are focused on youth and beauty. Beauty to the human male is a woman that is more likely to be fertile and bear healthy children. Losing weight, makeup, and having a pleasant demeanor, indicating that she'd be a good mommy to your babies, that's girl game. So what is game for guys? Women are seeking out the best man that they can have. Now there are, to a certain extent, two different strategies. There's the best genetics, i.e. the sexy son hypothesis, that if they go and get a cad to impregnate them, they'll have a son that will be very good at sleeping with lots of women. And then there's the dad, the guy that'll stick around and help her raise the babies so that they don't starve to death. Both of these represent two different types of ideal masculinity, and they're not necessarily mutually exclusive. Women are hypergamous in that they want the best man that they can find. And certainly there is that drive to go for the bad boy, omega degenerate, the sexy male. But in most women, these drives aren't complete opposites. They want a man that is strong and dangerous to his enemies, that can protect the family, that can provide, but who is also loving and faithful. And it is right that women seek out these traits. The idea of women going after the pathetically weak, nerdy beta is rather sickening. This runs into a problem, however, when you create a society where women don't have to pay the consequences for their behavior. Men value chastity in women. And this isn't irrational. There is a great deal of evidence that the fewer partners a wife has, the less likely she is to divorce you or cheat on you as a man. And yet we have birth control and abortion, and so girls can do whatever they want with their prime years and supposedly lie to the men about them. This is the problem. This is why women are out of control. Not purely because of their innate drives, but because society helps them pursue these innate drives, lets them get away with being irresponsible and being unpleasant. It allows them to lie. It bails out their screw-ups. It gives them free money for having a bastard. And in such a society, is it any surprise that women choose the cads, the sexiest ones, with no regard for the dad qualities? Game is largely about understanding what women are and what they like. They are not perfect angels. They are human beings, as ugly and venal as men are. The difference is that when a man sins, he murders, or he steals, or he does something overt. You notice when a man is sinning. When a woman's sinning, she is using relational aggression, aka the bullying of the girl group. It's not overt. When a guy bullies, he goes and punches somebody. When a girl bullies, they just all silently ignore the girl they're bullying. When a girl steals, she does it subtly by implying that she's going to have sex with you, but then, getting you to pay for her dinner and ditching you for the bad boy. When a girl engages in violence, she generally convinces a man to do it for her. Women are creatures too. They're mammals. They're not pure little angels. Game is about understanding that, and understanding what traits of masculinity girls find attractive. They want strength. They want a leader, somebody that they can trust. This is what a shit test is in game terminology. It's a girl giving you shit to see if you're strong enough to fight her. Because if you can't fight a woman, how the hell are you going to fight a guy? So she'll subtly insult you, and if you get flustered, if you act like a pussy when a woman insults you, she is not going to be interested in you. And especially given that we've been raised by women, we're a generation that's been completely pussified and taught to be ashamed of our own masculinity. Learning game is all the more important. Our grandfathers didn't need game because they got taught to be men the entire time. We, us modern men of the West, us degenerate, left-wing, feminized males, we need game to be men. Now, an old definition of masculinity, one not entirely unique to Europe, but certainly found its strongest example in the Middle Ages, is chivalry. And nowadays, chivalry is deeply misunderstood. People see the surface elements of chivalry. Holding a door open for a woman, buying her dinner, being nice to her. Except the original root definition of nice, it comes from the Latin word for knowledge, and it means know nothing. Know nothing fool. That's what a nice guy is. It's not the holding the door open that's chivalrous. Chivalry derives from strength. The original root, of course, chevalier, refers to a knight in shining armor. Now, a knight, when he holds a door open for a woman, or he censors his language, doesn't swear around women, he's nice to women, when he does this, it's because he's strong enough to destroy that woman, to rape her if he wants to. Chivalry is when you take somebody with less strength than you and still treat them courteously. It's not being nice for the sake of being nice. It's displaying that although I am stronger than you, although I can destroy you, and although I have no obligation to be nice to you, to be pleasant, to be courteous, I am going to be courteous. A lesser cannot be chivalrous to a master. If you hold the door open for your boss, you're not being chivalrous. If your boss holds the door open for you, you are. Or rather, he is. And so we find ourselves nowadays where women have managed to obtain a tremendous amount of power through legislation, through the force of government, through the threat of violence from cops. One thing that I find particularly disturbing is when women mouth off to men. And I've seen this far too many times. If you want to see a funny video, look up The Way of the Gun, Sarah Silverman. She gets her clock cleaned for mouthing off to a couple of guys. But essentially, you have these women that will say the most vile, repugnant, ugly, them's fighting words to men with the assumption that they can say whatever they want, that they won't get their clock cleaned for saying this. And if a woman 50 years ago, 100 years ago, spoke like that to a man, she would have been backhanded. She would have been put down. A chivalrous man would have put her down for being so incredibly rude and unpleasant. Us men know that if we're that rude to one another, we run the risk of getting into a fist fight. Now, we're also an extremely rude and crass society, but I can't tell you how many times I've had some punk say something to me on the street. And because most guys are pussies, the punk gets away with it most of the time. If I just turn around and look at him and say, "Excuse me, what did you say?" they turtle every single time. Because they realize, oh, Jesus, I just met a real man and he's going to call me to task for being a mouthy little shit. Women, on the other hand, are impervious to this. The women that do mouth off guys, they'll just do so and imagine there's no consequences for their behavior, because there isn't. If you hit a woman in the modern world, no matter how much she deserves it, you are going to be arrested for assault. If she hits you first and you hit her back, laying her down, because I've never met a woman that could take a guy. Maybe a couple that could take a lot of guys, but both aunts of mine. One's a bodybuilder, the other's a cop. And they're pretty tough birds, but they're on the far end of the female bell curve of strength, and even they could not take down a guy that was particularly studied in violence. That's the thing, ladies. Men could beat you easily. We don't because we love women. Despite all that feminist nonsense about how we hate you, no. If men hated you, you never would have got the vote. We never would have allowed feminism in the first place. We thought you were strong enough and good enough to handle it. You proved us wrong. So if you're a chivalrous man, or if you want to be a chivalrous man, it's about treating your lessers well. You don't make fun of a retard for being retarded. You're gentle to the retard. You don't engage them in intellectual debate. You could destroy them. There's no glory to be had in destroying a weak opponent. So you're nice to the retard. And it used to be with women that we treated women so gently because we could destroy them quite easily. And us being chivalrous men of the West, we chose not to do so. But your modern harridan, your modern degenerate woman, a woman that thinks that she can get drunk at a bar and she's entitled to go up to a perfect stranger and tell them off because she has a special protected class, because she has a bunch of cops that'll come beat you with nightsticks just because she's a woman and you're a man? Such a creature doesn't deserve chivalry. Such a creature doesn't deserve love and respect. She's a vile little beast, and treat her as such. I am chivalrous. For good women, for ladies, for weak men, for cripples, for retards. I am chivalrous to those people. Those are the people that I will go out of my way to defend if they need it. But I'm not going to donate money to some charity for single mothers. Single mothers that blew off nice guys every single day in high school and went for the bad boy drug-dealing jerk that beat them. I have no sympathy for those women. I have no chivalry for those women. Those women have no place under my protection. And if chivalry is a concept that you aspire to, it only deserves to go to those who have earned it. Would you be chivalrous to a monster? To somebody that abuses their children? Would you be chivalrous to a conceited narcissist? If you cast pearls before swine, you're spitting on the whole concept of pearls. Chivalry is a wonderful concept, but only for those who deserve it. Irini out, folks.